At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Behind closed doors, something big is happening at Room to Room Tupelo.
For 3 days only, unlock hidden savings at our on-site secret warehouse sale. Furniture, rugs, accessories, everything must go. Don't wait. The secret warehouse sale ends Saturday at 6 p.m. at Room to Room.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Like I mentioned in the 5 o'clock, we have an action-packed weekend ahead of us here in North Mississippi. So let's cut right to Matt live in Australia to help us get prepared for the severe weather we're expecting this weekend.
Yeah, of course, Caleb, as well as Gabe and Maggie, the entire Mississippi Live Weather team has been conversing about this potential for severe weather all week long. It does include the potential for damaging winds, perhaps also the potential for tornadoes. Now, as you can see there, the tornado threat is relatively speaking low. That's not to say we won't see the potential to possibly have tornadoes, but it is to say that it's a lesser threat versus damaging winds. And even then, this is by no stretch of the imagination a high severe weather threat. So let's just keep that in mind as we look over the next few minutes here at that threat into this weekend. Here is our limiting factor right off the gate here. And that is dew points. It's a measure of moisture based on the same scale as the temperature. Typically, when we're talking about severe weather, and in particular tornadoes, we'd expect these values to be at least upper 60s, if not 70s. That is not the case now. Now, where you do see more of that moisture, a little of the purple back closer to Vicksburg and locations back to the south and west, those values are higher. And we do expect moisture to increase. But we'll be talking about what we call just-in-time moisture. And many times, just-in-time moisture is never-in-time moisture as far as tornadoes are concerned. So that is a hopeful thing. Now, do I think we could have tornado warnings that eventually prompt us to take some action? Yes. But are we talking about significant, strong tornadoes? No, that is not the case. Drier air probably wins out. Still some questions along those lines. We'll look at that more detail coming up here in a couple of minutes. Okay, so let's look at Storm Track Doppler radar, Mississippi Live Weather Radar. No precipitation out there at this time. We do anticipate that we will probably see more significant amounts of precipitation with this tomorrow in the afternoon and evening as the system arrives. It's still well to the west of us at this point in time here. We are looking well back to the northwest. That front you can see out there on the plains, that is our focal point. That is where storms are going to be the most likely for tonight. You can see our severe weather risk as far as tonight is concerned right there along that boundary, well to the north and west, and is a level 1 out of 5. Of course, those levels come back to the number of reports. We don't expect to have many tonight. Those chances are a little bit greater for tomorrow, as you can see, gradually working its way toward us, and with certainly the center point of that threat back into Arkansas and back closer to the Memphis area. As you'll note, about 2/3 of the area under that level 2 out of 5 risk. And again, this comes back to the number of reports. I'll say that at least one more time here in a minute. As far as severe weather is concerned, damaging winds the most likely impact. We will have a line of thunderstorms move in, and that line most likely to produce damaging wind back into Arkansas and weaken as it moves deeper into Mississippi. That said, there is a tornado threat. As you can see here, level at least 1 out of 5 for pretty much every location that can watch us here on Mississippi Live Weather, or at least typically our coverage area would be. But you'll note we do have that level 2 out of 5 near the Mississippi and Arkansas state line, as storms could more likely to be discrete with individual storm cells back in that direction there. And again, the number of reports. That's what this comes down to, not necessarily the severity of the impact. A tornado hits you, nothing particularly weak feeling about that, right? So storm rotation, let's talk about that here. As you can see, looking at 6 p.m. tomorrow, that's where we kind of begin things. As we progress into the afternoon and beyond the afternoon and in the evening, individual storms begin to develop ahead of that boundary. And I'm going to go ahead and shrink my perspective here just so I can make sure I can see all of the screen that you're looking at as well. Couple individual thunderstorms back out there closer to Louisville and Aberdeen by 8 p.m. In general, though, it is that line back west that is the story. Notice how it's mainly just a big, long line there, north to south. Now, what are we looking at here? Kind of on bottom there, we have the lines going around the different colors as well. That's what we expect the future radar to look like. But laid over top of that, we have storm rotation, which shows just whether or not we have rotating updrafts in the thunderstorms there. And so that storm rotation, as you can see, does indicate a few stripes where those connect hour to hour or most likely have tornadoes of significance. Notice as we go beyond this, Caleb, between 8 to 9 p.m. this evening, a few of those stripes do persist. and a few areas of rotation certainly possible there. But most of those, we're not showing the lighter colors of pink there, right? Where it goes from like a bright red to the pink. Look at that scale at the top there where it says limited, sheer, and extreme. When it's an extreme, we have those connected hour to hour. That's when we're talking about significant tornadoes. This is maybe brief spin ups there. 10 p.m., we show a few spots, some rotation. And we do have those individual thunderstorms developing ahead. Still some questions, the quantity of those. But notice, most of those show more the oranges and lighter reds. I'm looking here, Corinth, Tupelo, Amory, Hamilton at 11 p.m. there. Those more what we call elevated storms, less likely to probably have something that is going to be significant tornadoes out of that at that point in time there. As we progress in beyond that by around midnight or so, the line, largely both sections of it weakening. And as we progress into, say, 1 o'clock in the morning, again, the rotation is not zero out of this, but most of this is just moderate, heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour, mostly sub-severe. And as that works its way out in Alabama, the overall significance of this continues to diminish. So with that in mind, again, weather call is something that is critical on a night like this, what we're looking at for your Saturday night and early Sunday morning, because it is a personalized tornado warning. So again, it will let you know if you're in that tornado danger zone there. It will call you, of course, if you're in that zone, and it'll call you back if the tornado is confirmed. Now, I do not expect that we're probably talking about a whole lot of those with this. But it is, again, it's good to have that as something that is prepared, that you're good with, and be thinking ahead about those tornado safety sheltering locations if necessary. This is not one of those nights I think you have to find a different place to spend the night. That happens a few times a year. But we definitely need to be weather aware. And if we get those alerts, Mississippi Live Weather app, which many of you are watching on right now, will give you alerts. But I always recommend weather call, and that's why we're talking about it here, because as great as any alert is, your phone has tendency sometimes to filter alerts, right? And if it filters our alert and says we don't need that at 2 o'clock in the morning, you didn't get a warning. But phone calls, again, you can put that in your do not disturb. It can bust through that do not disturb. And so make sure to sign up for Mississippi Live Weather Call there. You can see that below me on the screen. Could be a life-saving alert. Anytime we have these overnight events, certainly that is something we would recommend. Caleb, as we're bringing me back full screen here on that for a second. Again, the big headline as far as today is concerned, the threat for active weather over the course of the next few hours here is non-existent, but tomorrow it's going to be very late in the day when we start to see that threat kind of mature into our area. So definitely going to be watching things very closely, and the whole Mississippi Live Weather team is going to be a part of that. Our meteorologist Maggie, Macaulay, Caleb Edelblue, and myself all watching. Now, admittedly, I'm on this Wonders of Australia tour here brought to you by MLM. We are 15 hours off of what you are there. And it is possible that while some of this is going on, I'm going to be in the middle of a rainforest, okay? But this is not a high enough end event that if we're talking about high end tornadoes, I'd sit my rear end at the hotel and we would do this. This is maybe brief spin up style tornado. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't go much beyond that. And even then, by saying brief spin up style tornadoes, I might be overinflating the threat just a little bit. But of course, it's also high school football tonight, and I know a lot of folks excited about that. Our Mississippi Live Game of the Week, and really close on both the cheerleaders, Spirit Squad there, and Band of the Week. Of course, meteorologist Gabe Maynor is out there in Fulton with the latest on that, Caleb, and I know that he's excited to get going with some high school football.
Yes, no, he definitely is. Still rocking the shorts and short sleeves, I see.
Well, yeah, of course, Caleb. I was going to say there's no rain in the forecast tonight, but there is some precipitation on my head. It's sweat because even playing football for like 10 minutes with the managers, that was enough to start getting the beads of sweat forming on the forehead. So apologies for that. Kind of over-ambitious on my football playing abilities and found out I'm not young anymore. But what we have tonight is, of course, Itawamba AHS getting out on the field right now, getting ready to take on the Houston Hilltoppers behind me. As you can see, everyone's just excited to get this game going. We are currently 49 minutes and 57 seconds until kickoff, and folks are already starting to gather there in the stands here in Indian Stadium. So excited to get this game of the week going. Currently, votes are tight. Guys, if you have not voted yet, you still have time. The end of the broadcast is whenever we say you're done. So we still do have time. So if your squad, if your cheer squad or band squad is down, go submit those votes. Share those posts because we want everyone to be in this. We don't want one team to blow out the other. We want it to be competitive. And so far, you guys have done exactly that. And of course, we will keep monitoring that as we wrap up tonight's show, and you'll get to see the highlights of whoever that winner is. That's why it's essential to go ahead and get those votes in. But Caleb, a toasty night tonight for sure, and things are going to be heating up on the field as well here in a little under an hour. So just exciting times at our game of the week, and I know that you're tracking toasty conditions across Northeast Mississippi, or North Mississippi altogether. Live from our game of the week, meteorologist Gabe Maynor here for Mississippi Live Weather.
Well, a big thanks to both our chief meteorologist Matt Laubon and meteorologist Gabe Maynor for giving us the very latest on everything going on here North Mississippi tonight and into our tomorrow evening as well. But just like meteorologist Gabe Maynor said, we are still seeing toasty conditions this evening into tomorrow. Those rain chances not until the evening. We're starting off our Saturday clear and dry, low of 63 degrees at 6 o'clock, warming on up towards those mid 80s by the time we reach those afternoon hours. But notice we're staying dry pretty much all day long. It's not until those later evening hours where we really start to see that rainfall make an impact here across North Mississippi. That's more around 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and that's going to persist overnight into the early AM hours as well. So we want to make sure that has been the weather story all week long. That's something that we are going to continue to keep you updated on here in North Mississippi. So coming up in 1 minute, we're going to go back to the game of the week, hear from Cole Myers Corner on some college game day picks, and give you the very latest on those rain chances, all coming up in 1 minute.
When you've been injured, don't settle for a lawyer who doesn't even know where you live. Call Langston and Lott. Local lawyers, personal service, real results.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Taking a look at our high school game of the week forecast presented by Casey Lott. We're still kind of with those toasty conditions, still in the low 80s by pregame, cooling on off towards the mid 70s before we start seeing upper 60s by the time we're wrapping up that snap. But I know last high school game of the week, we had a lot of grilling, tailgating action going on. I know Gabe's a big fan of those concession food. Let's see what's going on out there right now.
Well, Caleb, concessions are going. The Eye of the Tiger is playing. I mean, everything is set for a fantastic game night tonight at our Mississippi Live Weather Game of the Week. But you did mention toasty conditions. Yeah, we're feeling it out here, folks, in shorts and T-shirts all over the place. And I do want to say, I'm not a doctor, but I do remember whenever I was playing and things were a little bit hot outside, you did get those cramps. So hydration tonight going to be essential. Coolers are out for the players this evening, and concession stands are going. You did mention that. Going to go get a Powerade here in just a moment to keep my hydration up. Recommend everyone else to do so if they're heading out this evening. May need the jacket as we get into that end of game forecast, but that depends on who you are. I know my wife, she's cold-natured, so she would need a jacket. Hope you're listening. But for everyone else, it's about 69 degrees. If we wrap that up, I would say that we get away with shorts and a T-shirt this evening. But Caleb, we do have a front coming through tomorrow, and then that's when things will really start to cool off, that extended forecast. I know we'll be tracking that here in just a minute, but, I mean, it's going to be a fantastic Friday night. Excited. Look at how blue these skies are. Can you ask for better conditions? I don't think so, especially not on October 17th. And our Will Kohlmeyer is tracking all across North Mississippi, those heated matchups for not just our game of the week, but all across North Mississippi. Will, what do you have for us?
Welcome to Kohlmeyer's Corner. We've got a little Will's Winners edition of Kohlmeyer's Corner. Time to look at some SEC matchups. And I'm telling you what, there are marquee matchups galore this weekend in the SEC. And it all starts at 2:30. Number 5 Ole Miss at number 9 Georgia. It'll be on ABC Sports. Should be quite a matchup. I'm surprised Georgia did not wait for Ole Miss coming into the state line after what happened last year with the Rebels routing the Bulldogs in Oxford. This year, I'm afraid it's going to be a different story. I like Georgia at home against Ole Miss. Still should be quite a matchup, to say the least, in Athens. Then, 45 minutes after that one starts on the SEC Network, it'll be Mississippi State. They've had that off week last week. Jeff Lebby, the head coach of Mississippi State, counted and placed emphasis on the offensive line. That's going to be a key tomorrow against Florida. Can Mississippi State's offensive line protect Blake Shapen? Florida's strength is that defense, especially on that defensive front. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. I like Florida and that defense stymieing the offense of Mississippi State. Bulldogs are going to make it interesting, but I like Florida in this one over Mississippi State. And then finally, what a way to wrap it up. The rivalry gets renewed. Tennessee and Alabama, two teams ranked in the top 11 in the country. Boy, what job that Coach DeBoer and the Crimson Tide have done. After that hiccup in week 1 at Florida State, they are rolling. Tennessee has not beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa since 2003. It's not going to get snapped this year either in 2025. I like Alabama in the win against Tennessee. But that'll do it for this week's edition of Kohlmeyer's Corner.
Well, I am very excited to see how those picks pan out, and I'm excited to watch these SEC matchups tomorrow. Here we go, starting off with those weather forecasts. Ole Miss at Georgia should be a good game, starting off around 80 degrees, still sticking around there before you're walking out of the stadium around the mid-70s. And of course, Bulldogs going to face the Gators in the Swamp, still starting off in the mid-80s, but this time cooling on off and walking out of the stadium with low 70s should be a good matchup out there as well. I'm telling you, he was right. We have matchups galore all across the Southeast right now, and especially Tennessee facing Alabama. That will definitely be a good game. There have been some classics in the past with them, starting off in the mid-80s before cooling back off into the mid-70s as well. But let's come back to North Mississippi, and let's take a look at our future cast. Still seeing these dry, clear conditions pretty much all evening long. This is what we've been used to all work week long. Going to change just a little bit as we continue heading into the weekend, but until then, we are still staying dry and we are still staying clear as we wrap up our Friday evening and the work week. This allows for beautiful conditions for our high school football game, not only tonight, but into the early morning hours for our Saturday as well. We're going to start off with clear conditions again as we get started with our work week. And of course, not the work week. We're past the work week. We're finally in the weekend, but those low temperatures still a little bit more elevated than what they were earlier on in the work week. Definitely a little bit warmer, pretty much mid to low 60s all across North Mississippi. So definitely not a cool or chilly start to the day. Those are going to start coming up later into the next work week. But let's come back to Futurecast to see what's all going on for our Saturday, because that is what we've been talking about all work week long. We are still seeing dry conditions across North Mississippi. Some cloud covers trying to build in just a little bit by those afternoon hours, still not really meaningful cloud cover, still very thin and wispy in nature. It's not until the evening hours we're really going to start seeing that cloud cover starting to push in from Arkansas, affecting us. Those rain chances still staying very slim all across North Mississippi. We are going to stay dry until those late evening hours. You can already see that weather maker starting to make its way through that line of storms. Still in Arkansas by 6 o'clock. It's going to start moving across the Mississippi River and into Mississippi around 8 to 9 o'clock. So still, any outdoor plans you have for your Saturday, they are good to go. It will still feel a little bit warm and good outside, but it's in the evening where we really have to start paying attention, make sure those alerts are turned on. But high temperatures tomorrow, still toasty and warm, pretty much upper 80s across most of North Mississippi. Those heat and seas keeping us right there with those actual temperatures, thankfully not really soaring us into the low 90s. I know Greenwood and Belzona starting to feel like you're in the 90s, but thankfully 0 following that 9 best case scenario for y'all out there. But let's come back to Futurecast where we can start tracking out that rainfall. Still, this model showing a little bit more drier conditions at the end of our Saturday as far as starting into the evening hours. But that line of storms, that's going to start making its way into Mississippi, pretty much crossing the Mississippi River around 8 to 9 o'clock, and we can start seeing the effects of that cold front making its way through, and especially down there in the southern portions of the Delta and around Hollandale. And it's going to continue moving on across North Mississippi pretty much into midnight in those overnight hours. So this will be an overnight threat and some rainfall that we are going to see here, still pretty much encompassing most of our area here around midnight. All of us going to be seeing this rain and pretty much some thunder and lightning depending on how much energy we can get with the storm. Good thing is this is an overnight threat, so it doesn't really have that energy from the heat and the sun to really fuel some of these storms. So definitely a good thing that we have going for us with how late this event is occurring. Those in Arkansas occurring just a little bit earlier and why they are more in that slight risk, and it's more west as compared to east. But continuing into the overnight hours, that system is going to continue pushing its way through North Mississippi, eventually exiting, and you can already see dry conditions starting to follow after that cold front makes its way through. This is at 2:30, so already most of the threat still making its way out of North Mississippi, but still keeping that line and that pretty much maturity as it continues moving into Alabama as well. But by the time we wrap up those Sunday night, early morning hours, we are still seeing clear conditions by the time we wake up, and it will feel a lot better than what it has been throughout our work week here in North Mississippi. That trend is going to continue into your afternoon and evening as well. By the time we're wrapping up Sunday at 6 o'clock, it will feel amazing, and into the early morning hours for our Monday. And there we go. There's that high pressure system. That is what's going to keep us dry from that point on, but also cool as well. It will feel amazing across North Mississippi. Just got to get through the rain and the thunderstorms first, but great conditions are to follow. And let's start off with your high temperatures. I mean, this is a complete opposite of what we showed for our Saturday when we saw dark reds. We're now seeing yellows and some mild oranges popping up, but pretty much upper 60s to low 70s all across North Mississippi. Thankfully, those heat and seas keeping you right there with those actual temperatures, maybe cooling us off as well. So you're going to feel a little bit better than what those temperatures are reading outdoors. But taking a look at the 7-day forecast, we can start seeing where that weather maker is really affecting us. Still 40% for our Saturday. And I know you're wondering, why is it 40% when it literally showed all of North Mississippi getting that rainfall? It's because we're going through most of our Saturday with those dry conditions. It's not until 8 and after where we really start seeing that rainfall. And then same thing for Sunday, only 20%, but we're only getting that rain around 1, 2, 3 o'clock before we start seeing those dry conditions. Speaking of dry conditions, those will persist Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday before maybe we can start seeing some precipitation come back into Friday, but our most meaningful rainfall will be Saturday around 40% and into Sunday as well, with that line of storms making its way through. But of course, I want to give you another in-depth look at it on what those threats are, especially with what Matt covered earlier. All of that's coming up in 1 minute.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Taking a look at the severe weather risk that we have going on this weekend. As of right now, it is just a level 1 risk, very far away from North Mississippi. This is out in the plains, occurring across Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. So definitely nothing that we have to worry about now. But this is the start of the system making its way into North Mississippi. Eventually, we're going to see that take place here in North Mississippi for our Saturday. Level 2 risk. So SBC has been kind of going back and forth throughout this entire work week. We've been monitoring it since the end of my last weekend shift, showing that slight risk kind of advancing into Mississippi, clipping it just a little bit, starting to go back, covering more. So getting a little bit more confident on some of that threat as we continue into our weekend. And we can especially zoom in just to see what that looks like for North Mississippi. Pretty much a little bit over 50% of us in that level 2 risk. But like our chief meteorologist, Matt Laubon, was saying, not expecting anything high-end severe with this. Like we keep mentioning, this is only a level 2 risk, something you still want to take seriously here in North Mississippi. But still, you have your level 3, 4s, and 5s. This is the first event that we're going to see here at the start of our fall season. But make sure to take this seriously as we continue into the weekend ahead. But what is the risk with this severe weather? Right now, pretty much the main risk is just wind. We have that line of storms moving on through. We can see those gusty wind, pretty much gusts, blowing across North Mississippi. So anything you have outdoors, if you still have some pool floats out, in case you have those heated pools, bring those in, bring those cushions in. You don't want anything floating on out of y'all's backyard and into someone else's. So that is pretty much the most severe risk, if that's the right word we can use for this system making its way through. We do technically have a tornado risk as well, pretty much just clipping the most northern part of North Mississippi along the Mississippi River. I believe that's just due to that moisture off the Mississippi River, maybe trying to help fuel those storms. And like our chief meteorologist, Matt Laubon, and meteorologist Gabe Maynor have mentioned earlier, we have that just right moisture that will impact this storm system as well. So we're going to continue to get more and more confident as we get closer and closer, as we've seen throughout the rest of the work week that we saw earlier. And that's going to be pretty much what we're going to continue monitoring as we wrap up our Friday evening. And we'll definitely be looking and monitoring it all day Saturday before we're back live tomorrow. But like I keep mentioning, definitely each and every one of you. But we'll be live later on tonight at 10 o'clock. I know I've been talking for a good bit, so that voting's starting to close. If you have not voted, make sure to go wrap that up here as I wrap up this broadcast. But we'll be live later on tonight at 10, where our meteorologist Gabe Maynard will give you the highlights of your game of the week. Very excited to see that. And of course, we'll be on our weekend schedule tomorrow at 6 and 10. To give you the very latest on the timing of that storm's making its way through. Make sure to keep you updated all day long and into the evening as well. So y'all go out, enjoy these beautiful conditions while we have them. And I'll see you live later on tonight at 10.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.